Have you ever had a dream where something so bizarre happened, but at the time it felt completely normal? Maybe you were flying or met someone who has been gone for years, or your childhood home had been transformed into some kind of futuristic city. But you were so caught up in what was going on, so engrossed that you never stopped to think, hold on a second, this isn't real, I'm dreaming. Why does this happen? Why do we miss the obvious? Well, it's because you're dream blind. Your brain has a flaw built into it that makes you not notice when you're dreaming, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. And this isn't just theory, it's backed by real psychological research, and if you follow these steps, you might even have a lucid dream tonight. The science of dream blindness. So this all comes down to a psychological phenomenon known as inattentional blindness. Back in the 1990s, researchers Dr. Arian Mack and Irvin Rock discovered something really interesting, and it's something you'll be familiar with if you've ever been to see a magician. If you're focused on a single task, you can miss something completely obvious, even if it's right in front of you. And you might even know the most famous example of this that came about in 1999, when Dr. Daniel Simons and Dr. Christopher Chabris did what is known as the invisible gorilla experiment. So for those of you who haven't seen the YouTube videos, here's basically what happens. Participants are watching a video of basketball players passing a ball, and they're told to keep an eye on how many times the ball is passed. So that should be pretty easy, right? Just count the number of times the basketball players pass the ball. But here's the thing. Halfway through, a man in a gorilla suit walks to the center of the court, beats his chest, and then walks away. But here's the really crazy part. You would think that something as obvious and surreal as someone in a gorilla suit walking into the middle of the screen should be noticed by everyone. But 50% of the participants didn't see it. They were so focused on counting the passes, so aware of that task, that their brain completely filtered out the gorilla as if it wasn't even there. And if you've ever been shown that video without knowing what's going on, you'll remember just how surprised you are when you watch it the second time, because the gorilla is so utterly obvious. So how is this related to lucid dreaming? Well, the thing is, your brain does exactly this during your dreams. When you're dreaming, your mind is so absorbed by the dream storyline, so entangled, that it completely filters out all the obvious signs that it's a dream. So you could be walking through a city made of floating cubes or talking to an alien, but your brain won't even question reality because it's taking it all for granted. It assumes that it's real. You don't notice the floating cubes because you're desperate to catch your train, and the alien doesn't seem out of place because it makes complete sense because it's trying to help you find your lost sock, something that's really important to you at the time. It's not that you're lacking awareness, it's just that your awareness is hyper-focused on the storyline, on the plot. You've got tunnel vision. And this is why so many people struggle with lucid dreaming, because they mistakenly think it's all about developing awareness, but your dreams are full of awareness, it's just the wrong kind of awareness. You never stop to question, is this a dream, because you've got more important things to do. So here's a real example of dream blindness. Only the other night, I was having a dream that I was back in my childhood home. It was the 1980s, yet I was my adult self. My now dead grandparents were there, along with my now dead pet dog from my childhood. Everything was a bit out of place and not as it should be. But I didn't notice any of those details. I was blind to them. Why? Because I was focused on the fact that I kept finding money behind the sofa. I was reaching into the sofa and pulling out wads and wads of cash. It was so engaging, so entangling, that took up all my attention. So why didn't I notice it was a dream? All the signs were there. Nothing about this environment made sense. But my attention was so entangled by this amazing rush of discovery and excitement because of the money that I didn't have the mental space to even consider that this might not be real. Just like the participants watching the basketball game, I was so focused on the task at hand that I missed the absolute obvious. Or in simple terms, I was prioritizing my awareness on the wrong thing. So fortunately, there's a way to fix this kind of tunnel vision, and it's not just what you would expect. So often when people talk about lucid dreaming, They fall into jargon like reality checks and dream signs and all that kind of stuff. But here's what you need to do without any of the jargon. How to fix perceptual blindness. So this approach is going to train you to break free from dream blindness and perceptual blindness. So the next time something absurd or impossible occurs, you actually notice rather than taking it for granted. And when you notice, you'll realize that you're dreaming, and yes, this is similar to performing reality checks, but this is the foundations, the true mindset of reality checks. Step 1. Notice the gorilla. Throughout the day, at random moments, stop and ask yourself these questions. What am I ignoring? Is there anything strange about my environment? And could this be a dream? At any given moment, there are far more things that you are ignoring than you're aware of, so move your attention outside of your tunnel vision and start to focus on all the things around you that previously weren't in your awareness. And look for the strangest things that you hadn't noticed, and then when you look at them, ask yourself, could this be evidence that I'm dreaming? Most people perform reality checks as a robotic habit. They barely engage any awareness, but what you're doing is taking your awareness out of your current focus and broadening it, and then using critical thinking to question the nature of your current reality. The more you question reality, your focus, and your perception, the higher the chances you'll do that when you're dreaming. Step 2, the absorption check. The biggest reason people fail to notice that they're dreaming is because they're entirely caught up in the narrative. Just like when you're reading a good novel or watching a really interesting film. In those moments, you forget that you're sitting in a cinema or there's the noise of popcorn crunching around you. You miss the gorilla because you're caught up in the storyline. So throughout the day, whenever you find yourself highly focused on a task or caught up in a conversation or lost in emotions or daydreaming, stop, pause, and ask yourself this. Am I so caught up in this that I'm ignoring reality? And if it were a dream, would I even notice? And is this a dream right now? So what you're training yourself to do here is to rearrange the priority of your awareness. So rather than prioritizing whatever you're focused on at any given moment, you learn to interrupt those moments of absorption and then to prioritize questioning, could this be a dream right now? You're also learning to train yourself to watch how you think and watch what you're thinking about, which is otherwise known as metacognition. And of course, when this becomes a new way of thinking, it's going to happen in your dreams when you're likely to be absorbed and therefore lead to a lucid dream. Step 3, the red flag method. So most of us have certain themes that recur in our dreams. They might be recurring emotions, recurring objects, people, places, or even storylines. So what you want to do is to realize that those are the red flags that let you know that you're dreaming. So obviously, first things first, start recording your dreams, write down your dreams and learn what your red flags are. Perhaps you often dream about running late for something. That becomes one of your dream signs, one of your red flags. So then train yourself whenever you see one of these themes to remember to question, could this be a dream right now? You can perform a classic reality test as well, such as the nose pinch test, but the most important thing is to remember that if you see your dream sign, your red flag, the probability is that you could be dreaming in this very moment. Step 4, be prepared. So far, everything we've discussed probably sounds straightforward, it sounds easy, but that's an illusion. It's an arrogance we all carry around with us. These tasks are actually incredibly hard to implement in your life. So, at the beginning of each day and just before you go to bed at night, tell yourself this: I will remember to prioritize questioning reality over anything else. So essentially, you're preloading your awareness to focus on that which matters for lucid dreaming and not to get entangled and absorbed in the storyline, the plot of whichever reality you're in. Now, this requires you to remember to do something in the future regularly, which is called prospective memory. And that can be a lot harder than you think, because if you're in the middle of a debate, it's really hard to remind yourself, oh, I'm entangled by this and therefore I need to step back and question my reality. you're more involved in the plot line. But the more you do it, the more you focus on it, the easier it becomes. And here are 2 tips to make this much easier. Set a recurring alarm to go off every hour. Now, this isn't to remind you to question reality when the alarm goes off. It's to remind you to check whether you've been doing a good job for the previous hour and to set the intention again for the next hour. So it's kind of a check-in on yourself. And the second tip is a way of hacking your inherent laziness. So what I mean by that is most people, when they think about doing the things we've discussed so far in the video, that sounds like work. It sounds like something additional you're adding to your life. But here's another way to reframe that. Many times when we should be questioning our reality aren't all that pleasant. They're kind of annoying or frustrating or emotional times. So if you find yourself feeling angry in an argument, highly emotional, doing some annoying job, or running late and feeling kind of rubbish, think to yourself this: if this isn't real, I'd be completely wasting my time doing that thing. That would be more work. So I should check whether it's real first. So this flips things on its head. Rather than doing the thing that would be a complete waste of time if you were dreaming, check whether each moment is real so that you can have fun rather than do that annoying thing. One last thing. Did you spot the change in this video? Was there a change at all? You're not sure now, are you? And I'm not going to tell you whether there was or there wasn't. But if you're feeling uncertainty, what is that? What should you do when you're feeling uncertain? And once you've answered that to your satisfaction, one thing you could do is to subscribe to this channel or watch one of the videos on screen right now. I'll see you there.